Hello, wonderful people. Hope you're doing fantastically well out there. Excuse me for my husky voice. I have come down with the flu the last week or so, which is why I haven't uploaded anything, strangely enough. And I'm not saying it's the you know what, but it has knocked me for six, and I'm still on the way back to recovering. Anyway, enough about me. I'm back today with another New Age review video. Before I get into it, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, liking, disliking, commenting, any kind of activity on the video. It all helps to trigger those YouTube algorithms. And today, guys, I am back with probably one of the most requested people that I have emailed to me. As you can imagine, I get tons of emails from people suggesting new ages to review. This woman's come up so much, but it's hard to find a lot of her content. I don't know where she has all. She has got a YouTube channel, but there's not a great deal of information on there. But this is Oracle Girl, and yeah, so I'm going to review her today. Just before I go into it, through working with clients down the years, the last 6 years, I have had a lot of clients that have come to me through working with her, and they're not feeling good. So make of that what you will. I don't know what it is. There was a couple of videos that I watched or tried to watch of hers, and just the frequencies coming through those videos were very dark. I couldn't even watch them. I had to turn them off sort of midway through. So something's up energetically, I feel, with her. Also, when you go to her website or you go to her YouTube channel, straight away the symbology, the first thing you see is like the eye, like an all-seeing eye, which is very suspect as well. But we're going to have a listen to what she has to say, so let's get straight into it.
I say that actually I am from the future and that I came here in full knowledge of what was going to happen.
Yeah, so just the vibes, just the eyes there. There's something very off. I don't know what it is. It's that kind of typical, which I've said so many times before, with a lot of these new ages. It's like the lights are on, but no one's home, or there's something pulling the strings behind the eyes. That I've said it so many times that the eyes are the windows to the soul, and she's kind of got dead eyes, for want of a better way of putting it. That's the first impression that I get. Um, Obviously, the shaved head. I mean, each to their own, but I don't know. It's not coming across as it's not. I'm not vibing. Basically, let's put it like that.
Here in this time that is happening now, and that I knew I would come here. In fact, I saw myself being born, if that makes any.
Of course, you know, the spiritual ego of these people knows no bounds. You know, they're all chosen. They all knew that they were coming here. It really is a bit of a vomit fest, a cringe fest. You know, the way that they get on camera and they talk down to their followers, like they're in some kind of elevated stage of consciousness, or they come from a higher dimension to the rest of us mere mortals. I find it all very patronising, and it's stereotypical. How many of these have I done where you know that you get those kind of vibes coming through?
Any sense to anybody. I am pure love, and my words are exactly the same as that substance, actually, whether I speak or not.
Oh my God. So she's on camera just basically saying that she's pure love. Here we have a human that feels that she's untouched by any kind of corruption, and I mean, who believes this stuff, honestly? Like, seriously.
The moment you come into contact with me, in whatever way that is, whether it's just hearing about me, a friend talking about me, or you see my image, you hear my words through a recording, or you attend a live event, you start to directly connect with exactly who and what you are, minus any of the distortions.
There's only one thing that I want to connect with right now, and that's my New Age sick bucket, which unfortunately I don't have right next to me right now. But imagine the ego. Imagine the ego. You know, you actually believe that anyone that listens to your voice or contacts you or thinks about you, somehow you activate a condition of pure love within them. I mean, sure, there's people that can influence people in a positive way. I get it, right? I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater here, but this is on a whole different level what she's talking about. This is pure spiritual ego coming through, some kind of like savior complex. Who knows what it is, but it's really disturbing. Once again, disturbing to see how many views this video's got, how many people follow this BS.
Well, ever since I met you, I started to connect with your message, and I said, "Wow, this is extraordinary. I love it, and I love the connection, and I love the sincerity, and I love the insight that I'm receiving right now."
It's all buzzwords. What does that mean? What does that actually mean?
And
there's the
it
eye.
wasn't
Look,
only
guys.
something that connected to my mind. Um, Although my mind was fascinated, but it connected to my heart.
Right.
And ever since that moment, I said, well, I'd love to talk to Jacqueline and bring her to our viewers here in Latin America and share this beautiful and powerful message with the ones that are going to be seeing us.
Everything's beautiful, everything's powerful, everything's
I
love.
function maybe on a range that is almost completely unknown for most human beings. And that is a range that is becoming possible for all human beings. So it's a bit like meeting yourself for the first time. And that's why I think so many people resonate when they come across me, because
Oh my god. So guys, if you're having problems connecting with who you really are, just put on one of her videos and you're sorted. You're done. That's all. I mean, look at the woman. She looks completely taken over by something. I mean, I'm getting all kinds of vibes here. I'm getting like serpent energy, reptilian, like who knows what is controlling this woman. But imagine sitting there and telling people that if you want to connect with yourself, you need to connect with me, through me. Yeah, like hell. Like what else am I connecting with? All your entities. No thanks.
because they are just having a very deep encounter.
Another thing, again, we see this so many times with these New Agers. It's the kind of hypnotic tone that they talk in. It's like this: you are sleepy, you are really sleepy. Just connect to me and then you will connect to you. Go to sleep.
With their very own beingness, which isn't normally able to be experienced through the everyday prism of experience. But often I say that actually I am from the future, and that I came here in full knowledge of what was going to happen here in this time that is happening now, and that I knew I would come here.
Of course, these people know everything. She's probably been living in the new earth. she probably ascended over the rainbow bridge years ago, so she knows everything. And you just need to connect with her, and then you can be just like her as well, and you can speak down to people.
In fact,
she doesn't look like she'd be a very good laugh at a party either. I mean, she doesn't seem very happy. I'm not getting the love and light vibes here. At least some of them masquerade that they're happy. People like Jerry Sargent and Ralph Smart, at least they put on a front. But she just looks miserable.
I saw myself being born, if that makes any sense to anybody.
No, but yeah, go on.
And the first part of my life was very much about remaining hidden and getting more accustomed to the ways that things work here. Maybe like many people, when you grow up, it all seems very strange and you have to
No, you seem very strange.
Find out the way it works. And then later, everything has come out more and more into the fore, and my life has become very public, as I knew it would. And then I'm able to show my full self increasingly, and that will only continue with the readiness and with the wish of others who come across me. More and more people want to hear and see and live from purity, and that's why I'm here. And that
I just can't believe that she's saying this stuff. She's sitting there saying that she's pure. I'm sorry, but all humans, we're flawed in one way or another. No matter how perfect and pure you are, you've got skeletons in your cupboard, girl. Don't even pretend that you haven't. The fact that you say that you haven't makes me even more suspicious, even more untrustworthy. And look at your sneaky little eyes.
That's what I'm about. Well, life seems like a series of decisions which we test against our internal environment and how we feel and how it sits with us. And then the external environment, the reactions of others, and again how it feels in our bodies when we actually push out into that zone around us physically.
Yeah, and the feeling that I'm getting now is the heebie-jeebies. My spider senses are tingling all over. What about you guys? What do you think so far? Is this someone you want to put your trust in? Because so many people do.
Experience what the world is for us as a result of making a decision. But it's a little bit like pushing a surfboard out on the ocean. You judge the part of the wave that you want to bridge, if you like, to the point where you stand up on the board, and then you just do it. And at the moment, human beings on this planet, they...
Just do what? Like, these people, they never say anything of substance. They make up all these ridiculous analogies. So we're just out on a surfboard judging stuff, and then what? Like, what is your message here?
They go into deep series of reflections sometimes, and maybe even they restrain themselves from external reality, and they pull away and go into meditation to find stillness so they can...
Of course, you got to go into meditation. This is the new age. What else should you do? Just sit there under a tree.
Connect within in order to make a decision. But in reality, after a certain point, the need for that disappears because you're confident that you're always standing on your surfboard, and that even if it's wobbly, that you will keep your balance. And then decision...
Does anyone know what she's trying to get across here? What the message is? Help me out, guys.
Making becomes more a continual series of just small modifications to the overall journey, rather than a more profound, shall I go this way or that way? Where decision making will still exist, but it will be a very different experience. It will be a lot more free flow. It will be a lot less with, if you like, the uncomfortable aspect of mental processes. And the mental processes will, if you like, entrain with our full mind. And even the idea of mind may fall away or change.
Okay, there she goes with demonizing the mind. This is how these people come across. They demonize the mind and the ego so much that they just become empty vessels. And of course, these people, they don't want you in your mind because, you know, when you're in your mind, you might discern, you might actually think, you might critically think. So these people are all about trying to get you out of your mind and just accepting and just bowing down to stuff that harms us. But again, there's just nothing of substance of what she's talking about so far.
Completely, because we just become a receiver, an inflow and an outflow spontaneously of the universe mixed with our unique personality characteristics. And that almost becomes more like a song or a vision of physicality in action, where we still have autonomy and we still have personal sovereignty, we still answer.
I find her incredibly boring as well. I mean, in terms of charisma, like I say, at least with some of these other New Agers, they have a certain amount of charisma, but I don't know what entity has got hold of her, but it definitely is one that lacks charisma. So, but thousands of people follow her.
To whatever it is that we decide to answer to, but it's a lot more integrated. It's a lot more integrated, if you like, with our purity rather than the part of us that needs to work it out. And it's also a lot more integrated with nature and all beings, that wavelength where we're already all connected.
Again, more buzzwords, connection, integration, really leading people on a road to nowhere with no real substance.
I'd love to understand better what you mean by the slave self. Does it have to be, is it something like what we call the ego?
Not really. Because of course there's many definitions of the ego. You could probably include some of those definitions in what...
Yeah, I've spoke about this so many times. These people, they hate the ego. They hate the individual. They want to destroy that. Because if you can get people, I mean, you can't destroy a part of yourself anyway. I've just done a big podcast on Night Flight about this. But they're obsessed with destroying the ego. You need a healthy ego in this reality. If there was no ego, there would be no art, there would be no creativity, no one would want to do anything. Life would be very boring because we'd all be like empty shells like these people are. So again, they want to try and destroy the mind, the ego, anything that promotes individuality.
What I mean by the slave self. Actually, when I'm talking about the slave self, I'm referring to the fact that the human being has been literally rewired into a much smaller range of functioning, and that period is now coming to an end. Not only is it starting to undo itself.
Yeah, don't do anything yourself to undo it. It's already just undoing itself. Just sit there and meditate. And destroy your egos.
Because the frequency of our times has superseded the setting where that slave self resonates, but also who or what, if you like, intervened and did that wiring, that is losing its grip on the whole mechanics of reality. And what I'm trying to get across to people in a straightforward way as possible.
Straightforward, really? I'm still on my surfboard, standing up.
Possible is that, let's just say that the human species has been...
Is it me or is she bored of her own word and life? She's hardly she's hardly coming across as someone that's like passionate and living their dream, living their purpose. You know, you got to remember this girl. Apparently, she knew that she was going to be here, and she's the embodiment of love. She's the embodiment of absolute boredom. If boredom was a person, it's Oracle Girl.
Distracted for a period of history into an image of itself that appears in a very, very physical and sensory-based way that leads it to mistake itself for something that always has to answer to someone else, and that is bound by a set of rules that must either break and overcome or will inevitably have to adhere to. And the slave self actually is a whole way of being. It's a complex where whatever you do, whether you rebel against it or whether you go along with it, or whether you do nothing, you still end up obeying it and perpetuating it.
Yeah, more promotion of inaction. You know, again, completely disempowering. We're bound by whatever she's talking about, so whatever you do, it's not going to change anything. See how subtle these messages are. See how, to the untrained eye, you could listen to this, get bamboozled by all the new age word salad, and come out with it thinking that you know something, but all you really have to do is nothing. Look at the eyes there, look. She's shape-shifting.
And it leads to
she looked like she shape-shifted then.
Looking for a way out, or a means of escape, or something better, and to find a solution. The human being is not really even caught in that trap. And it's only when the settings of human experience begin to change because of this time in history that we start to understand that this slave self actually exists in us, rather than us being trapped inside it. And now that whole experience of being trapped in...
So what's the solution, Miss Oracle Girl? Do we just have to tune into your videos and we become pure white love?
Inside that slave self is beginning literally to dismantle. And the whole of the human spirit...
It's dismantling because people are taking action and they're not sitting on their backside listening to BS like this. Well, some people are, but a lot of people are not, and that's why it's now being dismantled, because we're making it happen.
Species very slowly is beginning to discover that what it thought had power over it actually no longer has, and there is a gradual discovery now that all of those things are not the way that we...
I have to say, out of all the New Ages that I've reviewed, this woman is the worst vibes that I get coming through. I can't put my finger on it, but I've done, as you guys know, I've done a lot of these review videos now, and they're all a tough watch. But there's something about the vibes coming through here that's very dark. I'm just going to say it as it is, as I feel it. It's very dark.
We thought they were. At the moment, you know, our governments are making lots of rules, and then you find out that actually when you do what you feel to do, that those rules cease to have any effect on you. Or you even come into a situation where you find the opposite of that rule being said by exactly the same government agency. And that's because all the settings are now becoming scrambled. It's not just because actually people contradict themselves, or there isn't a continuity with a lot of our systems, or, for example, even that they're corrupt. It's actually because none of the settings and dynamics of this reality actually work anymore along the lines of the slave self. And it's going to be a beautiful, maybe a messy and at sometimes very troubled discovery process for the human being from now on, of the fact that nothing actually holds anymore except what you decide to.
Yeah, you make up the truth. Truth is subjective. It's not objective. You make it up as you go along. This is something else that they promote. Just make it up as you go along.
Adhere to. And it will be very empowering and life-changing for all beings on this planet. Another way I like to put it is that the deal is off.
Yes.
How is that shift occurring of liberating ourselves from the slave self? And how can we help for that to occur? And what's on
This is going to be interesting.
the other end? Or what is parallel
Just tune in and watch Oracle Girl. Activate your light body.
to the slave self?
Okay. There isn't really anything parallel to the slave self in direct and real time. There is a dissolution now of everything within us that doesn't match our purity setting. So it's a little bit like it is.
So this woman, does she think that she's the only woman or the only person that has this purity setting now? She's the activated one. She's like Neo.
Is our wish to experience, not only on the outside, but on the inside, our own purity, however terrifying that is. And actually, experiencing our own purity is far more terrifying than any external threat, because first we have to go through the zone of a type of nothingness.
This is like watching Elizabeth April again. You just go through the zone of nothingness, and you end up where? Like, what does that even mean? But can you see how that can appeal to people? How it can encourage people to stand down, to become passive, to just, oh, it's okay, I don't really have to do anything, I can just become nothingness. So much BS.
Where we encounter fully our own selves and that colossal unlimitedness. That's really the drive and the power of the fear that we're encountering in the external world at the moment, still through the sphere of the slave self and all those who are still bound by it.
You, of course, are not bound by it at all, because you've already elevated yourself.
There's actually nothing to be afraid of, and there's no fear, actually, in the areas that we locate it right now.
Yeah, tell that to the kids that they're trying to jib. Tell that to the people that are losing their jobs because they don't want the jib. You know, these new agers, they floss over everything. They pretend that everything's love and light. There is no dark in the world. There is real things going on that is affecting people and making them fearful. So what you're saying is complete spiritual bypassing and BS. You're asking people to just ignore all of that, which is what all these new agers do. They don't want to look at what's really going on. They just want to sit there singing Kumbaya under an oak tree and experience nothingness, emptiness, a void, kill the ego, kill the mind. All these things that make us human. And what does that do? It encourages other people to spiritually bypass, which makes people stand down passive, which is exactly what they want.
It's all actually part of the mediation that we're going through in our own personal processes of integrating and our future self actually walking into us and us assuming our full selves, our unlimited self.
Can someone explain to me what that actually means? Again, just a whole load of word salad thrown together with buzzwords.
It's not so much about the how. We are actually doing it. It's the slave self that asks how. Because the slave self always needs a formula, and formulas always come from other sources. Your own source connection knows how.
That guy looks like he's hypnotised.
How. And if there's nothing in the way, it just does it. We do it, and we enjoy it, and we want more of it. And what's happened is the slave self has begun to wear off, which other people are, through a smaller lens, interpreting as the end of the world, or the end of the banking system, or the end and the finishing of certain agencies that we don't wish to see anymore. What's actually happening is the end of our own fascination with being controlled and manipulated.
Right, okay. So we're here because we're fascinated. We're in this mess, we're in this situation because we're fascinated. We wanted to experience children being abducted, abused, and all this stuff. It's like this whole idea that we came to choose this experience. No, we've been hijacked. It wasn't supposed to be like this. This isn't a choice to experience such tyranny and pain and everything else that's going on. This is what they want to promote. These new ages, they want to promote that this is all part of the experience, and we chose this. It's absolute BS. Who would choose this? Seriously.
And it sounds almost absurd to say that.
Because it is.
We've been sucked into that, and we've quite liked the idea of it, but we really have. We have met in our own body experience the possibility of having and doing certain things which make us feel very powerful and very substantial. And we've chosen to identify with that rather than our unlimitedness, which has almost been too much for us all at once. And the fascination has completely worn off because we've come to the end of the process of seeing all of the outcomes of what happens when we move towards, if you like, that bright.
See, again, the subtle deception here is, and this happens so much in the New Age, is they flip it onto us. Like, this stuff isn't going because there's real evil in the world, and they'll tell you there is no such thing as good and evil. This is the other crazy thing that they often come out with, that's just some kind of like something we've made up in minds. No, there really is good and evil. And what they try and do through these subtle deceptions is shift the blame onto us. You know, the fact that we chose this and we came here to experience this, and don't worry about them, don't do anything to stop what they're doing. This is all part of the experience. This is all part of the fascination that she talks about here. And it just, again, it gets people to stand down and to stay passive and to just sit there thinking, okay, well, this is just an experience of a fascination for a while, so I'll just sit here until that wears off.
Light. It's like being fascinated by a trinket. And just like, when we go to school or the kindergarten for the first time and we see this toy that we've never played with, you watch a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old.
She's making like slavery out to be some kind of fun or something.
They want it, and they will push you out of the way to pick it up themselves. I can do it. And then they play with it and they work it all out and they get their delight from it, and then suddenly they drop it and they move on to something else. And so it's us changing up the gears of our own experiential reality, wanting more satisfaction, more depth, more personal sovereignty in a realm that brings us less of the negative and more of the positive. That's what's actually driving this whole experience right now. It's not an external agency or even the power of nature, because even the power of nature can be harnessed and can be accelerated by the human being. Earth herself is waking up because of human beings. It's not the other way round. you find that there's almost an abstract
Nearly finished, guys.
kind of dialogue, a sort of non personal dialogue that's crept into the world about how now nature or even the force of science or the universe will take over instead of religion or politics. It's not any of those things. It's actually the full spectrum of the human being actually being made materially possible. And then nature herself is able to wake up and go further. And we are able to encounter the full reality of ourselves through that intimacy.
And then we'll all end up in the new earth. God, can you imagine hanging around with these people in the new earth? Can you imagine how irritating?
So you see, it's all about intimacy, not sexual intimacy,
right,
or emotional intimacy. It's about the lack of separation that we already have from our own selves, from each other, from nature, and functioning purely there and nowhere else. And we've all decided that we want that filterless reality, however terrifying it might be initially, so that we don't need to experience the shadow side or the pain or the limitation anymore, or the possibility of being controlled by anything, not even our own emotions and our own fear. And this is something that...
But again, there's no, what's the solution to do that? I mean, she's saying that it's just a choice. Okay, so what? We just sit back? Again, there's just nothing, no substance to what she's saying.
All of us have in our own instructions. We brought it with us, if that's the correct thing to say, and now we're ready. That's what's driving it. So we're in control, and we always have been.
Right, guys, that's a tough one to watch, but same BS as usual. Loads of word salad, not really getting to any kind of point. Basically promoting the idea that we somehow chose all this tyranny and evil. It's no one's fault. It was just something that we chose. Just destroy the ego, destroy the mind, all the same usual BS, as well as talking down to people like she's some kind of god. And just the same crap, different mouth. So we'll leave it there, guys. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment. And again, if you're new here, subscribe. And if you would like to work with me one-to-one, please visit my my website, transcendingtimes.org. Links are in the description below. And I'll see you again soon on the next one. Take care, guys.